say we have reached a point that, okay, it makes sense, Allah exists. Now, and say you have helped somebody to reach this point. What is the next question? I want to know a little more about Allah, right? Okay, I accept that Allah exists. I accept that there is a God, there is a creator for this world. The next question is, I want to know more about Allah. Now, how much we can learn about Allah ourselves? How we can find out about Allah? How we can find out about the role of Allah in our lives? How can we get the answers to the fundamental questions of life? What are the fundamental questions of life? The fundamental questions of life starts with, what is the purpose of my life? Every human being is expected to question this. What is the purpose of my life? Is it just to eat and sleep and get married and have children and have a job? Is that all? What is the purpose of my life? What is the purpose of this world? Why this world is created, having the sun there, the moon there, other planets, the earth, why? Mountains, rivers, all of this. What is the purpose? Who God is? What else I should know about God? I accept that there is a God, but who is God? How can I find out what pleases God? What displeases Him? Because if I have a God, if I have a creator, I want to really try to please Him. So how can I please Him? How can I avoid His displeasure? How I can connect with my Creator? How can I communicate with my Creator? How I can seek His help? How I can worship my Creator? What is the criteria of success from God's point of view for my life? How can I make sure that I'm a successful human being on this earth? What does God say about what is beneficial, what is harmful? Beyond what is apparent to us. Certain things are apparent that, yeah, this is good, this is bad. But there are many things every day that we become doubtful about it. Or we question, is this really harmful? Is this useful for me to eat it or to use it or to follow it, right? How can we learn? Hasn't God answered these questions? Is there anything else inside my body other than my physical body? Everybody should ask this question. Is there any other creature around me other than other people around me and building and others? Or there are other creatures that I may not be able to see? When I die, is death the end of everything? And is that it? And if someone says, no, that's not it, there is another life, what is the next life all about? And etc. So these are called fundamental questions of life that every intelligent human being is expected to think about these questions. Every child, when they grow, they start asking these kind of questions directly or indirectly, explicitly or implicitly, from themselves and from others, right? So now, how can we get the answers to these questions? And if we believe in a God, and if you convince somebody that there is a God, then certainly they would say that, has God answered these questions? Right? And if God has answered these questions, how can I get those answers? Some more questions about sufferings in this world, about injustices. And is it possible that the God that I expect, that He is knowledgeable, He is powerful, He is wise, is it possible that that God left human beings without answering these basic questions for them? Is it possible? Does it make sense that God created humanity and He left them without any guidance? A simple device that we buy, a refrigerator, a microwave, a phone, it always comes with a user manual. So even human beings, when they do anything, they give some kind of guidelines for the user. How could Allah, the wise God, the knowledgeable God, created human beings without giving them any kind of guidance? Is that possible? That He left us to figure out everything ourselves? And if all these injustices are in this world, then, and God has a plan to establish justice, when and how He will establish that justice? And based on what criteria and standards a person will be a winner or loser in the next life? So all of these natural questions that come to our minds, how do we get the answers? If we ourselves, human beings, try to answer these questions, can we answer these questions? Can we answer these questions like what is inside my body other than my physical body? Can we find out through scientific studies that there are angels around us or other creatures? No way. So scientific methodology does not help us. Our five senses do not help us to get the answers for these questions. And then it will be left for what? The answers will be left based on our guesses. And now 7.7 billion human beings, or 8 billion human beings now, would start guessing. And basically that there's a potential of 8 billion different answers for each of these questions, right? For example, someone says, how do I worship God? Someone says, hey, flip 3 times to worship God. Jump 3 times to worship God. Raise your hands like this and do worship. So 8 billion people may give 8 billion different answers. And basically 8 billion different religions. Do you see that chaos that would come to the world and to the society without turning to God for these kind of answers? And wouldn't everyone try to justify their own answers and prove others wrong? And should we depend on our guesses? Should we depend on our conjectures? And has God answered these questions? And how can we get the answers from God? If God has answered these questions. Well, religions claim that yes, God has answered these questions. Islam, Christianity, Judaism, at least these religions, they say that yes, we have the answers to these questions. God has answered them. So if they say that they have answered these questions, shouldn't we at least consider those questions and study them in an objective manner? That maybe these answers are convincing or not. And all of this questionnaire is helping us to convince ourselves and others that, hey, for all of these questions, we must turn to God and depend on Him. We cannot answer these questions ourselves. And if religions claim that they have the answers, then we definitely need the religion. You see where I'm going? There are so many people who say, yeah, I believe in God, right? Agnostics, all these people say, I believe in God. But they said, the heck with the religion. Don't tell me about any religions. I believe in God, but religion is a problem. I don't want to believe in any religion. I don't want to believe in any kind of dogmas and any kind of rules and any kind of regulations and do's and don'ts and this and that, right? You have seen so many people in the world today are like that. How can you help them? You help them by asking these questions to them. Hey, don't you want to know the answers to these questions? How can you get the answers to these questions if you don't turn to religion? And isn't religion a necessity of humanity? A necessity for every human being to go after religion? Can they live without religion? Then let's talk about religion. What is religion all about? Religion, yes.
a weird question. Is there a religion without God?
So, to explain, inshallah, if you. So the answer is yes. There are some religions, man-made religions, but inshallah, this will go in a more systematic way to answer your question. So, what is religion all about? Tell me, what's religion all about? What is religion to you?
It's a way of life.
A way of life. Come on, what's religion?
Source of morality.
Source of morality. Come on. Yes. A sense of community.
Gravity towards something that you go and worship.
Gravity towards something that you worship. Okay.
A guiding principle for your life and establish.
A guiding principle for your life. Okay. What else? Come on.
Rituals.
Like why are we here? Understanding your existence.
Understanding the answers to our questions. All right. Come on.
Rituals.
Yes.
Practicing faith.
Practicing faith. Yes. Guidance. Religion is about guidance.
Identify God.
Identifying God.
System in human life.
Rituals and
Rituals.
System in human life.
Systems.
For your life.
System. A system. All right.
Follow,
See-
following commandments of God.
Right. There are tons of ways to define religion. But one way to understand religion in a simple way, easy way, is that every religion is made of two parts. Every religion is made of two parts. A set of beliefs and a set of practices. You got it? Every religion that you go to, they will tell you about two things. So the definitions that you gave, most of it are right. So religion can be said a set of beliefs and practices, a way of life, a way to God, an institution that relates humans' life and universe with God. This is a more technical definition. But so three main topics that religion always talk about is human life, universe, and God. And what is religious philosophy? So I jumped a little bit ahead of myself earlier. Religious philosophy is basically how you connect these three components. How you connect human life with God, and how you connect universe with God, and how you connect human being with universe. That's your religious philosophy, the way you define them, the way you connect them. Even if an atheist says God doesn't exist, so still now they're defining their relationship of human beings to themselves and to universe. So it's a philosophy. And everyone has a religious philosophy, even if someone says, I don't believe any religion, because they all have some kind of ideas about these three topics. Now, okay, I gave you the definition of religion, but I will come to that in the next slide. What are some arguments about religion? You know, just like about God, there are arguments about God, about religion, for religion, or against religion, right? Some people say that, the heck with religion, I don't like religions because religions this. Religion cause fighting, religions cause this, religion this, right? So what are the arguments against religions and for religions? One of the arguments that typically people bring to your attention, hey, why so many religions? If there is one religion of God, then why there are so many religions? How can I know which religion is right? Every religion claims that they have the truth. So how can I find out? How do you answer this question? The first question, if they say why so many religions, ask them a question. Does multiplicity of religion cause a problem for you? I mean, you accept so many other things in multiplicity, and you'll take, you consider variety as a value, right, in everything. But when it comes to religion, what's the problem? So multiplicity by itself may not be a problem, but understanding the concept of religion could be a problem. Or people say, how could I know that every religion claims the truth? How could I know which religion has the truth? You bring back to them that argument, say, yes, that's true that every religion claims the truth, but does that mean that no religion has no truth? Or it means that some religion may have some truth, some religion may have the full truth, some religion may have no truth. So logically, it is possible that some religions are just it could happen. Religions could be in any of them, their claims. Another argument is that how can I trust the religious figures and leaders? I cannot trust religious leaders because of their sad experience with some religious people. So they would argue against religion. They hate religion because of some religious people. They have done certain things, and they start, that makes an excuse for them to hate the religion in general. And some people say, religions have conflicting teachings. You ask them that, hey, is it possible that God sent conflicting messages? If you believe in a God who is knowledgeable, who is wise, who is powerful, is it possible that that wise God sent conflicting religions and conflicting messages? Isn't it that human beings cause these conflicts and cause these differences? Didn't people distort the teachings of religions and misrepresent them? And also, if someone says, hey, I studied this religion, I was with this religion, the religion doesn't make sense. I cannot trust religions anymore because the religion that I studied or I grew up with, it didn't make sense to me. You ask them this question that if the belief of a religion doesn't make sense, do you think that religion is from God? Do you think God, the wise God, the knowledgeable God, sent a religion and ask you to believe in something that doesn't make sense? Right? You have to reflect deeper and deeper. What time we have?
7:45.
7:45.
Okay. Please remind me at 7:57 or 58, so we have to stop. So is it possible that God sent doctrines that doesn't make sense, right? Because many religions say a person has grown up with Christianity and say, wait a minute, Christianity doesn't make sense to me. Why? Because Christianity claims that they believe in one God, but at the same time they say, I believe in three gods. 3 and 1 is not equal. This is blind faith if I accepted that 3 is equal 1, because it doesn't make sense to me. Or Son of God, and or sacrifice of blood sacrifice, and all of this, does it make real sense? It doesn't make sense. So they conclude that all religions do not make sense. Well, maybe the religion that you studied did not make sense. Have you studied other religions? Shouldn't people answer these questions about religions using an objective approach to study the religions objectively? Yes or no?
Yes.
Now, how do we study a religion? Say, you help people, bring them gradually first from the existence of God all the way to convince them that you need a religion. And then after that, okay, now how do I study a religion? Because you brought them to this point that you have to study the religions to see which religion makes sense. Now, how do we study a religion? There are many ways to study a religion, but the first thing that you want to do is, because people who do not trust religions, they always are worried about distortions. So how can I identify the distortions in a religion? And what are the main factors that can help identify the distortions in the original teachings of a religion? If you really think about it, there are 3 factors as a minimum that can help you understand whether this religion is really from God or not, whether it makes sense or not. What are those 3 factors? The first factor is preservation of message, right? Common sense. Every religion claims that we have a message from God. All right, is the message that you have right now, is it really originally from God? Did it really came from God? Let us look at the history of your religion. Go to the history of the religion based on their own scholars and say that, did God send this book to you? Did Jesus give this book to you? Did Moses give this book to you? Or other people sat down and wrote it? Is the message really preserved? That's the first thing that you want to help others understand and yourself. preservation of message is the first criteria to understand whether this religion is authentic or not. The second factor, look at the tenets of belief. Every religion wants you to believe in certain things so that you are considered a follower of that belief, right? Islam says that you have to believe in this in order to be considered a Muslim. Christianity may say that, okay, you have to believe in these things in order to be a Christian. So what should I believe in order to be considered a follower of your religion? And what they ask you to believe, does that make sense? They want you to believe in 3 gods, but also in 1 God. Does that make sense? They want you to believe that God was killed and was put in the death and grave, and then he was 3 days later he was resurrected. God was crucified, and does that make sense? That God was crucified, God was killed. You know, is what they want you to believe? Does that make sense? So remember now the belief in unseen versus blind faith. So we're saying that, is there anything that's blind faith? Yes, you have to believe in things without seeing, like Allah and next life and all that. But we say that as long as you cannot disprove it, and as long as it makes sense, then it's logical to believe. Right? The third element that you want to study a religion for is that how does the religion explain God? Ask every religion, how does your religion explain God? Most of the time you will find that they explain God in a way that doesn't make sense. They give all kinds of human shortcomings and they attribute it to God, right? In book of Genesis, you read that God went to the garden and tried to look for Adam and he could not find Adam. God went to garden and looked for Adam and he could not find Adam. What kind of God you believe you guys are? God chose a race, that this race will be better than other people no matter what. Whether they are believers or disbelievers, and so God is a racist God? What kind of God you are talking about? Or God was, had a son, and this son, and this and that, and God has, sacrificed his life. God sacrificed his life or his son's life for saving humanity. What kind of God you're talking about? These are the 3 main questions that you always want to study a religion for and help others. But if you want to study a religion, let us ask these 3 questions and let us study. Based on your own sources, bring your sources, I will study it. Isn't that an objective method? Now, in order to help you how to write good journals from now on, give me some example reflections about this slide. Yes?
The last one says how about the concept of God and religion. That assumes that you cannot hear the question. You can have religion without God, right? The last one there.
Yes.
The concept of God.
Yes.
But you can have religion without, theoretically, right?
Yeah, every religion has a concept of God, but what is their concept of God? How do they explain?
But that assumes that you have to have God in religion.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, divine religions all day talk about God, right? Man-made religions, they may or may not, but divine religions, they all talk about God, even though it's distorted.
So there's an assumption there we have to make that God has to be there.
Yeah, I mean, so if they claim divine religions, God is a main topic of their religion. If the religion is man-made, like Buddhism, for example, is a man-made religion. Buddha never claimed that I got anything from God. He doesn't talk about God. He doesn't talk about next life. Nothing. There's no belief in God. There's no belief in next life in Buddhism. There's just a set of psychological approaches how to cope with sufferings and this and that's all Buddhism teaches. It's a man-made religion. There's no, like Judaism, Christianity, definitely there's belief in God. Hinduism, there's a belief in God, even though it's heavily distorted. So, there is some kind of God that they talk about. So what is the concept of God in that religion? Yes?
I would reflect on the first bullet, the preservation of the message. There's whole science of preservation. So talking about the science of preservation, how the message that was revealed preserved up until today. in itself.
Good. What? Give me some example reflections about this light. Yes.
I think it's essential for us to study other religions as well, objectively, in order to have, because this brother was asking questions about how to talk with atheists or other non-Muslims. I think we need to establish our own knowledge at some level about them as well, right?
Right.
So that's
Yeah, so I think my reflection about the concept of God, especially when talking to a non-Muslim, is I think you might be very able to find somebody who will engage with you at such a rational level, but more commonly you'll come with somebody who's not approaching it very rationally. And their arguments for, say, the concept of God in their religion comes from a very emotional sort of place. It's very convenient. It feeds to our baser instincts to believe, oh, somebody died for our sins and it's forgiven. It's easy, right? How I would think about that is, if it's that easy, why are we in fact approaching life and goodness, and that is where my thought process would go in encountering that, because I don't think